Start recording. So you've been in the neighborhood?
18 years I've owned my home.
Could you introduce yourself?
I'm Ashlee Kennedy.
Okay.
I live at 5667 North 33rd Street in Milwaukee, Thurston Woods.
Okay. And over those 18 years, how have you seen the neighborhood change?
Originally when I came here, I had relatives that were living in the area.
Mm-hmm.
And I would come up and stay with them from Florida.
Okay.
And I liked it here. I really did. So I thought, well, I'd like to have a home here. I had a wife at the time, and we wanted to come up here and spend some time for the summer. But I was based out of Florida. That's where my business and my residence and my home and all of that was. So I thought, well, we can maybe buy a little fixer-upper. But I don't want to live in, let's say, the city. But I want to be near the city.
Mm-hmm.
So because I knew these friends here, they said, well, you should look around here. There's some nice little homes. And I like this little enclave here of homes, the Thurston Woods area. It was old. It was established. A lot of people had lived there for like 40 plus years. Even when we first moved in, all of our neighbors, they referred to us as the kids because they were all like in their 70s and above. And there are still actually some of those people alive right now, but they're up there. The neighborhood was quiet. Like I said, it was all homeowner properties, well maintained. When I moved in, I thought it was great. Since I've lived here, especially in the last 5 years, I've seen a lot of things that I'm really not happy with. There's a lot of crime that's everywhere. I understand that. But what's happening is we're getting a lot of it that's filtering in, a lot of it on foot traffic. These are people that are coming through the neighborhood either to get from here to there or there to here. We had a problem with some alleyways that were going out onto Silver Spring from Thurston. Those were eventually blocked off, and the problems dropped dramatically. Because most of the people, even now, we know who our neighbors are. We know who does and doesn't belong in the neighborhood. Most of the homes that are owned, that's great. The ones we're getting some now that are starting to be rental properties, either the previous owners have deceased, their family has the property, they can't sell it or they don't wish to sell it, and they're putting in tenants. And there's one right around the corner from my house right now that myself and several neighbors were really upset about because they had a police raid there 2 weeks ago. There was gunfire. I mean, come on, 9:30 at night. I don't want to be hearing that. They were having, true story. They were supposedly having a party for the birth of the woman's baby. She'd just given birth, and they were having a baby shower or whatever. And there were like gazillions of people that didn't live in the neighborhood, never seen them before, screeching and screaming, gunshots. Cops came. I'm not kidding. There were 9 cruisers. Yeah, they came to our doors. By then it was 10 o'clock at night. Did we see anything? Did we hear anything? Do we know who lives there? It's a rental property. Now it's empty. Apparently the owner was notified of this, and they've since vacated the places. And there have been several tenants in and outers. We don't like stuff like that. I don't like seeing that in the neighborhood. And there are several homes around here. I hate to say it. That's what seems to be happening. And that's why, personally, I'm considering maybe moving. Not giving up my house, because I love my house. I put a lot into it. But, you know, I don't need to be sitting in my house at night and hearing gunshots outside my window. That's not what I came here for.
Is that the first occurrence of that kind of thing?
Like I said, within the last 5 years, it's getting progressively worse.
Mm-hmm. Do you know any renters who don't fit that stereotype? Or?
None that I've met personally, because there was a house diagonally across the street from me on my street, 33rd Street, same situation. The house was bought, it was refurbished, the guy couldn't sell it. He bought it as an investment. It was kind of a beater. And he wanted to generate income, so he put a family in there, a young woman with a couple of kids, working mom, no problem with that. But within a month or so, all of a sudden these guys are coming around. Somebody was out in front of the house one night with a baseball bat smashing out the windows on the car, and the language was horrible. I'm glad I don't have little kids. I mean, the neighbors got together and got a hold of this guy, and he was able to get her out of there, but there were a lot of problems there. This is the element that seems to be coming in here, and we don't really know what to do with it. Mm-hmm. You know, there's like 1,000 homes, and maybe 699.9% of them are homeowner occupied, and the rest are, it is what it is. See, that's the problem. They don't own it, so they don't have any respect for it. They don't understand working hard to make your house nice, to be in a nice, quiet neighborhood. I mean, they don't own it. They don't care.
Yeah. Could you describe?
I don't need to be so vocal about it, but you know, I pay taxes here. I've worked hard. I put a huge amount of money into my home. I did it with the intention of staying here. You know.
Could you describe your home and maybe some of the other homes on your street? What kind of work have you put into it?
I do construction and refurbishing. That's my profession. I studied architecture as well, but I didn't get a bachelor's degree, so I do a lot of design work. I've been doing this for over 32 years. So what I do is I'm the guy that goes in and renovates your house from ground to bottom. Problem in this neighborhood, which I thought would have been a good thing, is a lot of these people, they're homeowners. They don't have a lot of money and they prefer to do their own. And that's great. I have a guy right next door to me, just bought my neighbor's, she was deceased, and the house sat empty for quite a few years. And it was a wreck. And I made an offer on it, but the family, it was some kind of an estate deal. And they couldn't all decide on what they did or didn't want, and I made them an offer. They rejected it out of hand, and finally, after I think the house sat for like 3 or 4, maybe 5 years, this guy bought it, and he's doing all the work himself. He's a really nice guy, young guy, his first home, and he got in with that program where you get an $8,000 tax credit or something. So he's all excited, and he's doing a fantastic job. He's working his butt off. So I'm happy to see that. That's what we need to see more of in here, I think. You know, that's what I did. Getting back to what I was saying. Because I do it as a profession, obviously I have to charge. I make a living doing that, but a lot of these people are unable or unwilling to pay for that. Most of what I do is on the east side, Lake Drive and, Shorewood.
Yeah. There's a really strong do-it-yourself attitude.
Yeah, and since the economy sort of started going south, I'm finding even in my own business and a lot of other men that are in businesses like my own, people they're still a little leery about spending the money, And they have a wonderful work ethic here. I mean, in Florida, people hired everybody for everything. Nobody actually did their own work. Up here, I came up and I saw like these mansions on Lake Drive, and the guys that own them are out there mowing their lawns, and I'm like, whoa, this is not something I'm used to seeing, but it's the work ethic. Truth be known, some of those people that I've gone to give quotes to are the cheapest in town, too. It's how they afford their big fancy mansions, You give them a quote and they look at you and they're like, well, can you do it for like $5,000 less? It's like, excuse me?
Yeah.
Do you think that the decline you've seen in the neighborhood is related to the economic decline, or do you think there are other factors involved?
There are other factors, because some of this, like I said earlier, this is starting, at least what I personally experienced and seen, and when I say neighborhood, I'm talking within 2 or 3 blocks and my own block of where I live. I'm not talking about over on this part of town or north, south, east, west of Tetonia. I'm talking about the immediate neighborhood that I live in. I don't think that's economic. I think it is what it is, I know that a lot of my immediate neighbors that were here, that are gone, I said earlier, they passed away. I mean, it's like that part of it's gone, and I've had neighbors tell me that years ago, long before I was here, they used to have no fences anywhere. You could stand at your kitchen window and look out and see 3 or 4 down yards into everybody knew everybody. That was like the good old days when you could sleep with your doors unlocked. We used to do that back in the day.
Yeah, I'm from a town in rural Indiana where we still
Yeah,
do.
I mean, we knew everybody, and that's how it was here when I first moved in. But like I said, people have passed away. Several of the properties now are rental income type properties. Of course, then you've always got your majority of people that are just antisocial. You're going to have that anywhere.
Has the neighborhood become more antisocial in the last few years, or how do you interact with your neighbors?
Well, like I said earlier about the block captain thing, and when we tried to get the crime prevention program started, there was a lot of backbiting and interbiting. Everybody wants to be in charge. Nobody wants to take direction. They need to have somebody that actually is at the head of the table. And then you have appropriate people doing whatever it is they're supposed to be doing. But you can't have Mrs. X on 34th Street telling Mrs. B on 37th Street. It isn't going to work. That's basically why I got out of it.
When were you a block watch captain?
This must have been maybe 5 years ago, 6 years ago.
For how long?
Very short time, not even a year. They wouldn't call me. We were supposed to be notified. I was not the top dog. I was just the block captain of my particular block. And this individual, I'm not going to get into names, but they were supposed to notify everyone through either literature, emailing, or telephone if necessary about upcoming meetings and things. And like I said, I'd get a call from a neighbor, and they would say, well, there's a block meeting tonight at the Agarpi Center at 6 o'clock, and I've worked all day, and I'm getting this call at 5:15. And are you going? And it's like, nobody's told me anything about it.
Yeah.
So there was, it was like, you want to know the truth, I felt like there was a lot of resentment against me personally that I was there, and I don't know why, because I didn't go in with an attitude, But I speak my mind, and I'm not stupid. So, a lot of these people, they don't want to hear that, The big complaint we had, this was some years ago, was Thurston from Teutonia to 35th Street is a drag strip. We've had some really bad accidents there. I'm surprised nobody's been killed, child or dog, and it's going to happen, mark my words. The speed limit there is 20 to 25. They come whipping through there doing like 90. I'm not lying. So I said, look, when we lived in Florida, I said, we had a program because we had a little street neighborhoods and we had this problem, and what we did was we built what they call speed bumps, but not that blacktop that they run through the middle of the road, looks like a round piece of log or something. We had them built out of brick. They were about 6 feet long and the whole width of the street, and they were kind of gradual. And we had those spaced every so many feet, and we got the neighborhood together and we did like bake sales and ball games, and we had charitable funds, and that's how we raised the money for that, and that solved our problem. Aesthetically looked nice, and you go whipping over one of those, it's going to rip the bottom of your car up, and that solved the problem. So I came up here and I recommended the exact same thing. I lived and seen it, tried and proven. Didn't want to hear about it. Did not want to hear about it. All I heard about was, well, where's the money coming from? Well, how can you tell us that that's actually going to work here? I mean, it was more negative than positive, so I just sat in my chair and said, you know what?
Yeah.
I don't mean to sound negative about it. I love the neighborhood. I mean, I always did, but I just don't like a lot of what I see. So I choose not to look at it. I don't know if I'm giving you information that you do or don't want, or...
No, we're just trying to understand more about the neighborhood.
Yeah.
This is great. No, don't...
Is there anything
don't
else you'd...
Yeah.
Ask away.
So what are some of the places you visit on a regular basis?
I used to like to go to Ravenwood up here, or Havenswood, I call it Ravenswood, right up here, the natural sanctuary or whatever it is. Because that was nice. And there were some other little places around here. I used to like to walk at night, just to, I'm not into jogging, but I like to go walking around the neighborhood and stuff. I won't do that anymore. I've been accosted several times. I haven't been attacked or anything or robbed, but I don't need to go out, and I don't have a dog. I have friends here in the neighborhood, they walk with dogs, and they go, well, get a dog or walk with us, we've got a dog. And it's like, no, I'm not going to do that. So you know what I do? True story. I like to walk at night sometimes. I don't mean late. I mean like maybe 7:30 at night before, I just don't want to eat dinner and just lay around. I drive down to Whitefish Bay, and I park on one of those little side streets, and I walk through those neighborhoods. Now that is sad. Our neighborhoods are just as nice, but I don't feel that I'm safe enough, and I'm a pretty capable guy. But I don't need the grief.
And you used to walk...
I used to be able to walk around here. Yeah, when my wife was here with me back in the day, we used to walk at night. Nobody ever bothered us. Now it's like I said, it's just this...
And people stop you to ask questions?
Oh, we've been accosted for money, for cigarettes. One woman, this is true, this happened about 3 years ago. My doorbell, I couldn't believe this. My doorbell rang and it was late. It was like, 12:30, 1:45 in the morning, and my lights were off, and I thought, who's ringing on my door? So I went and I looked, and it was an African American, to be politically correct. Very nicely dressed. Pearl necklace, hair all done. She smelled nice. I mean, she looked good. She was tears coming down her face. Her son was in the car, so she said, in front of my house, and he was having an asthma attack, and she needed $32 and some odd amount of cents. Oh, could I please give her that? Well, because I've had problems in the past, I don't keep a lot of cash. I pay everything by check or plastic. And I told her so. Oh, I don't know what I'm going to do. I said, well, you know what? I said, there's a 24-hour Walgreens not far from here. I said, if you want, I'll get my truck. You follow me over there. I'll go in with you. You get a prescription. I'll pay for it and put it on my charge card. Oh, no. I think I'll go up the street. I'll go to... my sister-in-law lives 2 streets over. And she left. I never saw her again. And I thought... So I told someone about that, and they said, oh, she had a drug problem because she came to our house. I said, you would never believe it to look at this woman. She didn't look like what they call a crackhead to me. I mean, she was in tears. She was genuinely shook up. But all the time she's wasting trying to get this piddly amount of money out of me with the son in the front seat of her car. If her son, I have a friend that's at asthmatic problems, and he said if that kid was out in that car having an attack, she'd have to do something to get him to the hospital. He'd die. So it was just a rouge. What I'm saying is this is what we're dealing with here.
Yeah. And so you're thinking of moving to
I'm seriously thinking about it. Yeah.
to another place in
Glendale.
Milwaukee? Oh, okay.
Glendale.
Uh-huh.
I like the area. I mean,
Yeah.
I do business here, but I mean, I don't need people banging on my door, or ringing my doorbell, or feeling that we've had a lot of what they call garage, and they're going to start again. And I'm not being negative, but it's that time of the year. We have a lot of garage vandalism, lawnmowers, snow blowers, garden equipment.
Being taken.
Yeah, and it of course is during the day. Everybody's working, so nobody sees anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it sounds like
What I'm finding in the neighborhood, if you want to know the truth, is since in the time that I've been here, and that's a long time to be somewhere, that it's now becoming more divided than it was before. When I first came here, that was one of the things I liked about it. What I mean by that is people are sort of like more and more keeping to themselves. I'm seeing more and more stockade fencing going up around properties.
what does bring people together, or what would bring people together?
I'd like to say a block party, but honestly, I just don't see that happening. Like I said, it goes back to everybody wants to be a chief. No braves. Everybody wants to run everything. You have to have structure in life. It just doesn't work. I mean, that's like everybody storming the White House and saying, well, we all want to be the president. We're not going to do what Congress tells us. We're going to just go in and run it ourselves. That's exactly what's happening here. And it's like, I don't care to be a part of that. I don't have to run everything. I'm a good follower. But you got to have someone of authority that is truly in the position of authority. And they don't have that. At least that's my opinion.
Yeah, like you were saying, structure.
It isn't structured enough. And as I said, I'm not a dumb guy. I mean, I'm well educated. I've been around. I've lived all over the place. So.
So did you come here right about the time the Agape Center came?
Actually, I think I was here before that, or if it was here, I wasn't aware of it. Yeah.
And have you seen a difference with the Agape Center, or?
I've seen a lot of people that have come through in and out, but as I said, I've been here for several meetings and functions and things, but no, nothing negative, if that's what you're asking.
I'm just curious
No.
about your
I wasn't
perception
really,
of the-
no. In fact, I wasn't really affiliated with the Agape Center until I became a block captain, or a so-called block captain, and I just did that because, like everybody else at that time, we were having a lot of problems here, and people were getting fed up with it, and they wanted to do something, and that's why it worked in Florida. I thought, great, same situation,
Yeah.
But there was absolutely no way it was going to work. In fact, I don't even know if they have that anymore. Honestly, I don't know if we have block captains.
There are a couple.
If we
block
do, I'm not
captains.
aware of it.
Yeah, there are, but
I don't know if they have meetings anymore, and if they do, I don't know who all's going, because most of my neighbors I'm pretty friendly with, my immediate neighbors, and nobody ever says anything to me about it.
there are 2 Black Watch captains, and they're both pretty frustrated with the position.
Yeah, well,
So it doesn't sound like anything's changed.
so it basically backs up what I just said. There's just no structure, and it's a shame, This could be again what it was, It's like I always called it the best kept secret in Milwaukee. You know how many times I have friends come over to my home and we're sitting out in my yard and they're looking around, they're like, I cannot believe you live in Milwaukee. Because of the trees and it's the setting and it's just the atmosphere, But then you go out of my street down Thurston and around the corner and it's like...
And so
anything
when you
else?
used to walk in the evening, what streets did you walk on?
It didn't really matter. Different way. We'd sometimes go down Thurston to 35th and go up here to Silver Spring and walk down maybe to 40th and then come up. There's some nice little areas around here that aren't really part of Thurston Woods per se, but like little old neighborhoods. But I won't do that anymore. No way.
But
I have a friend of mine. I'll give you this another true story. She's a flight attendant. She works for ATA, and she used to be with. I forget the airline that just recently was taken over. I can't remember their name. But anyway, that's not the point. She lives on 34th Street. I've known her for many, many years, and she takes the bus because you can get the bus up at 35th and Silver Spring, and in the morning when she usually goes to work, it goes directly out. It's like a direct. They have two different ones that come through there. So she gets on that bus and she goes all the way out to Mitchell Airfield. That's not the problem. The problem is what she's encountered between the time she leaves her house until she gets and when she's waiting at that bus stop up there. She said she has been accosted so many times that now what she does is she wears her uniform because it's dark blue, and she said they think she's an off-duty cop. She's found that they bother her less. You shouldn't have, and she's out early, like, 3:30, 4 o'clock, 4:30 in the morning, whenever it is she needs to be at the airport. You have to allow for the drive, obviously.
Yeah.
So that's not good either, I mean...
That's interesting.
I'm not painting a good picture here, am I, guys?
That's all right. We've only been here during daytime hours, so it sounds like there's... Can you describe
There's two groups of people here.
Yeah.
The vampires come out at night, yeah. And I don't mean the blood-sucking kind. I mean, they just... We had a problem a couple of years back with a nightclub that they finally did get closed, and it was called Escape, and it was up off of Teutonia, down behind the Silver Mill shopping mall, which is right up the street here. We really had some horrible... In fact, I think somebody was shot and killed. That's what finally got our wonderful alderman, don't get me started on him, I do not like that man, Ajante Hamilton, to get it closed down, but I don't have too much good to say about him either. I've actually met him, had him at my home, and he's related somehow to another friend of mine, but they didn't have much good to say about him either,
Is that because...
He just doesn't belong in the job that he's in because he's not doing what he should. Again, it's all about, I want to be in big shot, I'm in charge, I was told years ago I should run for alderman, but I didn't want to. I just didn't want the backbiting and all. I don't want that. I don't. I want a peaceful existence.
I find it really interesting that you cared enough about Thurston Avenue to have these speed bumps put in. I mean,
Well, because it's been a problem. I mean, I myself have almost got hit in my own vehicle driving out of there more than once. And there is a Lutheran school at the end of the street, right on the corner of Thurston and Teutonia. And it's fenced in, but they're out there in the daytime playing. But sometimes in the afternoon, I don't know if I'm around to see it, like, I don't know, maybe 2:33, somewhere around there. There are kids that walk through there, and I've seen people walking dogs, or I've seen a couple of women recently, like just before it's getting dark, out with a baby stroller. And, you don't expect somebody to come hauling ass down the road at, 60 miles an hour when it's posted 25. So it's actually, there have been a few neighbors over the years, now that I think on it for a minute, that there were accidents where they hit a tree or something and ended up in somebody's front yard because they were drunk and speeding or something. That's happened once or twice over the years. But to my knowledge, no one's been killed yet. That's what led to the speed bump thing. Because everybody was complaining about it at that time, So...
So are there any other people in the neighborhood that you know that are making a genuine effort to improve things?
As far as what, their personal property?
As their property. Or
yeah, I know several that have already done that. I mean, it's sort of like you start, someone else follows suit. 1, 2, 3, 5 of my immediate neighbors have done that after I started doing my house, and I did a major rehaul on my house. I added onto it, gutted it, refurbished it, new windows, doors, furnace. I mean, I put a lot of money in because, first of all, it's my business, and I expected to retire here, But then after that, I saw neighbors were putting on new roofs, and then some new windows, and then maybe a new driveway or landscaping, and it's like, fences going up. And
so if one person improves their front yard,
it seems that it's like, if they're conscientious at all or have any pride in their home, it's sort of, my street's kind of a nice street, actually. Nothing flashy, but well-maintained homes and lawns. Everything is clipped and raked and, I've been down some others that aren't so nice, There's one house right now that's driving the bugs out of me, and it's right on, I live on 33rd, and 34th is here, and Thurston is right here, and it sort of curves, and there's a house right there. That's the one I was telling you about, that they had the shootout, and they just recently evicted them. the house is deteriorating. It's a crime. It's a beautiful house. It was a beautiful house. The roof needs replacing. It's bad. The windowsills are rotted on it. It needs a paint job. The weeds are like this. Every so often somebody comes and cleans it. The driveway on the side facing the alley is made out of poured blacktop, and it's so old that chunks of it are coming out, and every once in a while kids come by and they pick it up and they fling it at your house or something. I've had the cops up for that too. I don't know who owns the house. I've tried to find out. I tried to look it up. I couldn't find any information about it. I actually went over there a couple of times with another neighbor, and the tenants that were there were not well educated. They weren't receptive at all. You know, you got to be able to kind of deal with people. All we want them to do is clean the place up, because when you drive in and you turn to go onto my street or 34th Street, you have to drive by this house, and it's disgusting. I mean, it looks like an eyesore. So I'm not too pleased about that. Aside from that, but again, it's not an owner-occupied property. I don't know why they don't sell it. Get somebody in there that would make an effort to, maintenance it, take care of it.
Could you talk? You said you won a landscaping award?
2 years in a row. Yeah,
Oh.
yeah.
Could
Milwaukee had the what do they call it? The mayor's beautification, neighborhood beautification, and I won that in, I think it was 2005 and 6. I think. I have plaques. They gave me a plaque and like a diploma.
What were the
Big
changes?
whoop. It was fun. I get to meet the mayor, and had a little lunch.
What were the changes you made? Could you describe?
Oh, major. My yard was like a lot of them. It was just straight lawn with a couple of trees and overgrown shrubbery, and that was basically it. And because of the renovation I had done to the house, I had to have all the exterior shrubbery, which was, real rooty at the bottom, but all overgrown on the top. That was all torn out. Then I added onto the house, refurbished the house. Then I started planting, because I used to, part of my business was, the design inside and outside. I put up a gate with an arbor and planted roses. I put arborvitae up along my property line with my neighbor, as opposed to putting up a 6-foot stockade fence, because it's green year round and it looks nicer. It's more natural than I don't want to look at a fence. And I put in flagstone walkways everywhere and terraces, and I had fountains. And yeah, I went way overboard. I over-improved, I've been told, and I don't doubt that I did. But I didn't care. I wasn't doing it to impress anyone. It's my home,
And do you have a backyard as well?
That is part of my backyard,
Okay.
yeah.
So it wraps around.
It
the
wraps
house?
around. I have alley access. Yeah, the house is sort of like in the middle.
Could you tell me more about the alley? I know you said earlier that.
Our alley is pretty good, because the neighbors that are there, they all know each other, and we keep after it. I'm not saying that there aren't problems, but, it's not run down. There's not like, overflowing garbage. There's not any junker cars out in people's backyards or driveways. Even the garages are pretty well maintained, which is nice. It's a pleasant looking alley as far as alleyways go.
Yeah, there was the student I was talking to earlier, he said when he lived in Berryland, he's 23, so he's lived here all his life. He said as a kid they'd ride their bikes around, and one of his friend's grandmothers would give them a plastic bag and say, if you're going to enjoy the neighborhood, you might as well help clean it up.
Oh, that's
too.
a nice idea.
And so he got into volunteering, and now he works here with
Good.
the kids.
Good luck getting them to do that today.
But he, so when he was a kid, they'd spend a lot of time on the basketball courts at 41st and Douglas, and I need to do a bit of research, but they used to be 4 full courts, and now it's only 2 half courts.
Oh.
And the rest of it is just a grassy open area. So it makes the kids feel like they don't belong here anymore. And
Well, is it for the neighborhood kids, or the ones that are like filtering in from everywhere else?
I think.
Because, to be honest, I've seen kids with basketballs up by Silver Spring and 35th Street that are coming this way from the other side of Silver Spring. And I'm always thinking, where the hell are they going? I mean,
I think that other neighborhoods as well have downsized their
okay.
basketball courts, so these kids don't have anywhere
Place
to
to go, yeah.
Um,
I know there's one up on, I think it's 51st in Silver Spring. There's like hundreds of them up there.
oh,
It's across from that military distillery there. There's a
oh,
basketball, big, huge place there. I see a lot of them up there. Yeah, from early in the morning until when it's dark. Yeah, they're all aspiring basketball stars.
So, so you said you've noticed a lot of kids playing basketball in the alleys?
Yeah, if you have hoops up, if there's a hoop,
Mhm.
there'll be kids. Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
Personally, I don't have a problem with it.
Uh-huh.
I'd rather they play basketball than be vandalizing or stealing. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Give them a distraction. No, I have no problem like that. I grew up that way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I had to have a job. Didn't matter if I wanted to. My dad insisted on it, which was obviously a good thing for me. I mean, we weren't allowed to just go out on our bicycles and run rampant.
Mm-hmm.
You know, although we didn't have to worry about people grabbing us either back in the day. You know, in the summer we'd leave in the morning and we'd come back by dinner time and we'd be doing whatever we were doing. I was always building houses and tree huts, so a little budding architect way back when, didn't even know it.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think things are different now?
I can't answer that. It's just the way the world is. There's crime everywhere. Things are just, you know, I don't know if it's the economy. I don't believe it is, but, you know, it's just like a lot of the people that were in the neighborhood have passed away. It's like they just don't have the same feeling about it, you know? They don't take pride. You know, I think that's like a lot of things in life. Things have changed so much. Things do. People do. You know, ideas change.
How do you think you could get people to have that sort of pride again?
I hate to say it, but probably set up some kind of a contest or something with a cash prize, considerable one. Give them an initiative. Isn't that sad that they have to be paid off to do something? But I feel that would work. You know?
Mm-hmm.
They need an incentive. They need, you know.
Do you think that it seems like the renting families just don't have the extra money to spend on?
Well, that's true. That's true, and that's another part of the problem. These properties they're not owner occupied. The people that are renting them, they don't. This people that own that house I told you about, right on the corner of my street. I don't know who that is, but obviously they don't care either, because if they did, they'd be doing something about it. You know, they're collecting a rent every month, so what do they care? Their mortgages, you know, I'm surprised the city, I've actually been tempted to call the city, but I've never done that to anybody. I just won't do that. I'll either approach the people myself or, you know, like I said, I just choose not to look at it. But a few times I've actually been tempted to call them up and just say, look, you know, can you please, because I know if it was me, they'd do something. About 6 or 7 years ago, I have a Dutch elm tree in front of my yard. Huge, not Dutch elm, it's white oak or something, it's big. And it umbrellas the street, but there were some dead limbs way up in the top of it, and I didn't even see them because I don't look up that much. But one day there was an inspector from the city in my yard, and this was a couple of years ago, and he had a clipboard. And I saw him, and I went out, and I introduced myself, and he said, yeah, he said, you've got a problem here with your tree. And I said, what do you mean there's a problem with my tree? And he pointed it out. I looked way up. If you ever go by my house, you see this tree, you see what I mean. And he said, there's a couple of dead branches, and they were dead, and they could fall in a snowstorm or something, and they would have landed probably right on the edge of the street. He said to me, and this is what really ticked me off, he said, well, we've had complaints from your neighbors, and I thought, wait a minute, that's not possible. I know all my neighbors really well. We exchange things. At Christmas time, I've had them over for drinks. I mean, something isn't right. Well, anyway, I had to get them pruned, which I did. I didn't have a problem with that. Or the city would do it and put it on my tax bill. Well, I found out about 2 years later that the complaint came from a woman that lived in that house I told you about that was across the street. It was a rental property. She didn't own it, but she had a friend that parked her new car out in front of my house, and they didn't want the branch to fall on her new car, so she called, and that's what I found out, because she called them on another neighbor, too. Now, isn't that sad? That's almost lunacy. If they had come to me and knocked on my door, said, I'm so-and-so, you know, I love your house, I love your tree, we park here, do you see those branches, we're concerned, I would have done something about it. Don't send an inspector down. Mm-hmm. Point is, this is what happens to me and I maintain my property. Why are they not doing anything about this dump? That's what upsets me. That ticks me off.
Talking to some of the people in Berryland, they also value these trees, and
that's part of why we live here. Thurston's Woods. Yeah. I mean, you know, it's a forest.
But what?
I'm a tree hugger, by the way. I am. No, I planted trees too on my property, big ones. I had them bring them in, dig holes, and I don't want little bushes. I want trees. That's why I live here. You know.
What do you think might be the similarities and the differences between what renters value about their neighborhood and what owners value?
What is the difference? The owners take a hell of a lot of pride in their appearance of their property because they're living there, and the ones that don't, they're just collecting a rent on it.
Uh-huh.
It's all about money. Big surprise there. See, I've never understood that because I have in my life, I don't at the moment, but I have had property in my life that was rental income property. But this is me. I kept that stuff maintained beautifully, and I always had good tenants and got a good rent. It kills me that these people have these houses that could be magnificent, and they're falling into the ground, and they're renting them. People are paying rent to live there, and everything is falling apart. Now, if it looks that bad on the outside, let's imagine what it must be like on the inside. They don't care. They're making money on it. My logic is let's fluff it up, fix it up, get an even better rent, get a better caliber of rentor living there. Not all people that rent are scum. Some of them, I rented years ago. I took care of where I rented. I don't mean that to sound like if they don't own their bums. That's not what I'm saying. But if they don't have anything nice to take any pride in, and the people they're renting or paying their rent to don't give a crap, why should they? That's why they have such a turnover in this property, with people in and out, in and out, in and out.
So if you moved to Glendale, what would you do with your house?
Basically what I did here. I'm going specifically, if I do this, after I fix a upper, I don't mean it falling into the ground dump, but, you know, that's just what I do. I've never lived anywhere and not made alterations. Never will.
But
Till I'm too
would you
old.
continue to live in both houses?
I'd
or-
keep this one. I don't know what I'd do with it exactly. But I'd keep it, yeah.
Mhm.
It has significant meaning, too, because I lost my wife years ago, but we were together when we bought that, and we bought it together. And it was our, you know, little project. And I love the house.
Mhm.
But right now I'm in a position, I wouldn't want to, but if I had to, I would not rent it. I'd close it up, and I'd just pay the mortgage, the taxes, and the insurance. You know, and shut everything off and just keep it maintained.
Mhm.
I don't think I'd be a good landlord now because I've done so much to the house. I wouldn't, unless it was somebody I knew and trusted really well, they'd kick the crap out of it. And what if they don't pay my rent? And I have friends now that own rental property that tell me nightmare stories about things, you know. You get them in, they have more rights than you do. If there's a problem, you have a hell of a time getting them out. What if they don't pay the rent? You've got to pay the mortgage. You got scum living in your property. Sorry, I'm just
That's all right.
soliciting. That's all right. It'll go to voicemail.
Okay. You mentioned that you like to go to Havenwoods, and
I call it Ravenswoods. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah.
What-
It's
what-
nice up there. Ever been in there?
Mhm.
Yeah, they got all these little trails and things in there. Yeah, it's restful, peaceful.
And so you just go there to take a walk.
Yeah,
or?
just commune with nature. You know, not so much now. Yeah, actually, a friend of mine about 3 years ago, lady friend of mine, she was in there with one of her girlfriends. They were jogging or something. I don't know, and they got accosted by a couple of guys. They didn't have them. You know, they weren't attacked or anything, but just the fact that, you know, you're not going in there for that. You know, there's problems now. There's crime everywhere. That's just how it is, apparently.
Do you have any friends in Berryland, or did you ever know anybody in Berryland?
Never. Or if they were, they never told me. No.
Have you ever been inside
Never.
an
No.
apartment? Okay.
No. Mm-mm.
Is there anywhere you like to go to eat in Thurston Woods?
The only place that I would go to, and I don't go there anymore only because of my schedule now, is Joe's Cafe right over here on 35th and Silver Spring. It's kind of like good food, cheap, and everybody knows everybody, but that's about it. And if I did go, it would be like real early for breakfast, but with my schedule, I'm not always able to do that.
Did
No.
you?
I go to Bayshore now. They've got
Mhm.
everything since that opened.
Where do you get groceries?
I go to Trader Joe's and I go to Sendex in Whitefish Bay.
Okay.
I absolutely hate this pick and save up here on Silver Spring and Glendale. It's terrible.
Because of
Well, I don't know. They've had several managers over the years, and I was going there when it used to be a Jewel Osco. It was nice then, but it's you can't get a lot of what you want. They never have the same thing twice. And I've gone in there sometimes, and there's stuff in the aisles you can't move around. And this is during daytime when they should be doing this at night, so that you know it's just. Or you go in and there'll be 30 people and 2 registers open. It's like, so I just don't go there. I go to the one over on Green Tree and Port Washington Road.
And it used to be a nice option for...
It used to be a Jewel Osco originally. When it was built, it was physically built. It wasn't even there. I remember when that was all done. Yeah, I've been here a while. I remember when they did Silver Spring through Glendale, where they put in the swales, the islands in the middle there with all the landscaping and the little pond down there by, I can't think of the street, but you know, the big urns with the flowers. I remember when they built all of that. And at that time, Glendale wanted to come up here into Milwaukee and continue to do that, refurbish the whole thing. And I think they wanted to go up to 60th Street, which is quite a ways. And Milwaukee vetoed that. They said, no, we didn't want to do that. They didn't want to incorporate it as part of Glendale. They just had the funds available and they just wanted to do that. Can you believe that? They were offering to do it for gratis. And Milwaukee said, no, we don't want that. What idiots. They didn't go and take a neighborhood vote on it. I don't know who made the final decision, but none of the neighbors, we heard about it after the fact.
Mavis said that you designed the flag for Thurston Woods.
Yeah, there's a story and tell too. I did design the flag. They told me what they wanted. And I designed a couple of different things. And I never really heard anything about it. And then later on, I saw our flag. And the bench that I designed, and what they did was they changed the colors, and I had used the initials instead of Thurston. They had another artist come in and do some very minute changes, but just enough so that it was. I still had my original artwork, and then I don't know who this person was, but oh, look at who designed the flag, and I got really upset at them about that. Then I saw flags popping up all over the neighborhood. And I didn't have one. And then I called and found out where they were, and they told me that I'd have to buy one. And I thought, no way in hell. Well, I finally did get one. Through somebody here at Agarpy, and I can't remember that gal's name. Nice girl, though. Young. I wish I could remember her name. I don't. She was here for a while.
So when you designed the flag, you just kind of... They had already said what they wanted, or did you?
No, they told me what they were thinking about, and I had done this when I lived in Florida. We lived in a neighborhood there, and I had done that, and it was just do a sketch of something and submit it, and you'll either get it or not. And I won it, I guess you'd say. I'm a very artistic guy, and they told me what they wanted. Just make it look kind of, you know, like it is, you know. I think I had a little caption with it too. It said it was the best hidden secret in Milwaukee or something, you know. And I do the bench, like the park bench with the trees, because I thought, you know, that's what it was like.
Were there a lot more benches in the neighborhood?
There are a lot more trees in the neighborhood. I've seen a lot of trees coming down around here. A lot. Yeah, we used to have a lot more trees. Seriously.
What brought them down?
I don't know if they were disease, it's possible, or if people just, out of ignorance, cut them down. I've seen that happen a lot, too. These people will buy a house, and the first thing they do, in fact, the guy living next door to me that I was telling you about, that the house sat empty for so long, it was overgrown and it needed everything. And he went in and went right to town. God love him. But the one thing he did, it really ticked me off, and I actually went over and told him about it, was he was over there cutting down trees and big limbs and things that truly weren't a problem. And now his backyard is completely opened. And then I had vegetation growing on my side of the fence, but it overhung on his. He ripped that all out of there one day when I was at work. I came home and I walked in my yard and I was like, what? He had a legal right to do that, but I still called him on it. I said, do you understand what you're doing? Oh, he said, my wife likes to... I said, yeah. Trees give oxygen, they give shade, they keep your house cool in the summer. I said, that's why we live in this neighborhood. So basically he came in and he stripped everything except the tree in his front yard. And one day they were out there with the chainsaw. This wasn't long ago, maybe 2 months ago. And I went running outside and I said, what the hell are you doing? It's just what I said. Well, we're going to trim these trees. We want more light to come in here. Well, what could I say? It's his tree. And it was a beautiful tree. And it went up straight and it had an arm that came off like this. Big, huge limb. Chopped it off. Nothing I can do about it. You know, it is what it is. I should be grateful he didn't chop the tree down. Like I said, I'm a tree hugger. But yeah, I've seen a lot less trees around now.
Do you know of June Baum and her husband?
Mm-hmm.
And we We're thinking about interviewing her, but we
She's
have limited time.
she's very elderly, and she's getting confused. I mean, and her family keeps a real tight rein on her since her husband passed away. I used to be very close to those people. I was like a son to them. But after he passed away, all of a sudden these relatives showed up out of the woodwork, and a lot of their other friends too have sort of, myself included, fallen by the wayside because the family they never had children, and they lived there for like 50-something years, and they have a lot of money. And so these relatives have appeared out of nowhere. Now they've sort of like got a stronghold around them. Yeah.
Could you describe their efforts the Baum's efforts?
Well, they bought the house like I did when they were young, like I was, and at the time they were called the kids.
But,
She's still alive. I think she's like 96 now or 95. She's old.
And that was back in the 50s that they...
I think it was in the 40s. Yeah, they were here a long, long time.
And they started an association? Or?
Yeah, way back when. Yeah.
What was the name of it?
I wasn't here. Couldn't tell you.
Hmm.
But they always kept that place. I mean, it wasn't. That's all he had to do, though. It wasn't a blade of grass out of place or a leaf out of.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he did all day. He lived for that.
And what did you do with them? Did you?
All kinds of stuff. I just have him over to my house, and we'd have Christmases together, Thanksgivings together. I'd take him to the ball games up at Miller Park because he was into baseball, and
What was his name again?
Louis.
Louis.
Yeah. Yeah, he was a character.
And what was it? How did you get introduced to them? What brought you together?
I actually met them when I was looking at the house that is directly behind their house. And I wanted to buy that house. And that was like 18 years ago. That house was available. And I don't remember at the time if it was I don't know if it was a bank foreclosure. There was something going on with the bank, though, and the real estate company. And I wanted to see it. And I was standing out in front of the house looking at it. And all of a sudden here this little old guy appears and wants to see what's going on, and basically that's how I met them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And were you involved in the advocacy for trees, or was that
That was more than him, I think,
Uh-huh.
than me. Yeah.
Did he ever talk about it with you? Did they have to go to City Hall?
They might have, but if they did, I don't remember. He's been dead now for like 5 years, I think. So.
Okay.
And I've sort of lost contact with her only because of her age and her family. As I said, the last few times that I was there, they didn't tell me to leave, but I felt like they didn't want me there. It was like, they said to me, well, we'll take care of her. We have everything under control. And I'm like, fine, goodbye.
And you said she's getting Alzheimer's, or?
I don't know if she's getting Alzheimer's, but she seemed, the last time I saw her, she was not delusional or anything. She was just a little bit confused, but that's, she's in her 90s. I mean, no, obviously she has her wits about her. She wouldn't be living there. She's still living there, so. But I know the family's there all the time. I see the cars there all the time, so, which is good for them. The thing I was a little upset about was that for all the years that I knew them, there was never any mention of these people. At holidays, they'd come to my house. They didn't say, oh, we didn't go, or nothing, no mention of it. And then he dies, and all of a sudden, literally the day he died, I met a whole bunch of people that I'd never seen in my life. It was like, who are they and where are they from? Oh, this is my niece and this is my nephew, and they live in Whitefish Bay. They live in Whitefish Bay. I've known you for I don't know how many years, and I'm just meeting them. Oh, well, we didn't talk for a while, so there must have been something that happened. I don't know what. I don't care. But now, there's a big golden egg sitting there for somebody. I hate to say that. It sounds terrible, but that's fact. I mean, you're so quiet over there.
Well, I'm thinking.
Any questions?
So you spent a lot of time like in Whitefish Bay and Glendale.
Well, that's because of working.
Yeah. Are there any other places in Milwaukee that you've spent time in that you know about? Any restaurants or anything?
Yeah, I like to go down to the Pfister a lot. They have the Mason Street Grill down there because I like jazz, and they have jazz. They have a jazz club on top called Blue. I go there every so often. Yeah, I like the more high-end, nicer things. Yeah, but I can go to McDonald's and have a Big Mac. So, I prefer the high-end.
So, what's your impression of Milwaukee as a city?
It's a working class town. Yeah. Don't ask me to compare it to New York. My sister lives in Manhattan, and I go there a lot too. There's no comparison. Even with Chicago, it's a working class town. I don't even call it a city, believe it or not. It's like, to me, it's a big town, which is fine. It's not a slam. I live here, but you know.
And what's kept you, or what drew you here first, and what?
Well, like I said, we have friends here, and my wife's family was from here, and I liked it here. You know, I've lived in Florida for a long, long time, and when I came here, that Midwestern hospitality thing, that was true. You know, everywhere I went, people were really nice. Of course, I was in a new place, so I was looking at it through big glass eyes. But, you know, and the neighborhood, it wasn't like it is now, you know? I mean, I don't know how I can explain that to you. It's just, it's been almost 20 years. It's just not like it was.
Has the city changed as well?
I suppose so. I don't know in what sense are you talking though.
I mean, I guess have your impressions of the city as a whole, Milwaukee as a whole, has it changed?
No. I mean, they've done a lot of, you know, good things, I guess. I'm still, if I do leave where I'm living, I'm planning to stay in Glendale, which is so I'm not leaving, I'm not fleeing the state. I mean, you know, I would like to stay here. I really don't know how to answer that for you, you know.
Just kind of a
General
sense,
question,
just
yeah.
as-
No, I wouldn't leave. I'd stay here. Yeah, I'm proud of the city. I go to Summerfest. You know,
No, you're doing fine.
Okay.
I
Any
think-
more questions?
So basically, this article that you're doing, if I could do a little
Yeah,
asking,
sure.
what is it for though? Research, or just are you doing like a book of some kind,
We're
or
hoping to-
pamphlets, or?
We're hoping to put together a website with little videos of people and pictures of the neighborhood,
Mhm.
stories about the neighborhood.
To
Basically develop like a profile and a history for the neighborhood.
Okay,
Yeah.
So
all right.
that people outside of the neighborhood, outside of Milwaukee, can kind of get an understanding of what this neighborhood is and how it's changed over time.
Right.
Just to kind of develop a profile for the neighborhood. And then this will be replicated for other neighborhoods in Milwaukee.
Okay.
So that it kind of develops this kind of a clearer picture
Right.
of what Milwaukee is and what its neighborhoods are.
Did you know that log cabin house? Do you know where that is? That's the oldest house in Milwaukee. Did you know that?
Mhm.
A lot of people don't know that.
I read that plaque on the sign.
Yeah, well, you know what? The guy that owned it, he just sold it a couple of years ago. He took the plaque off the house. That was wrong. That should have stayed. There was a nice brass all about the history. He took it with him, and then he died. So we're never going to get that back.
Yeah, I'm interested in architecture and history, but
Me too.
over
yeah.
the years, I've learned so much about these world-famous buildings. I want to know more about these everyday places.
Have you guys done any looking down, like on? I think it's Sherman, down where they've got the big old mansions, or down off of Wisconsin Avenue, or is that not what you're?
Oh, this
I think
is the
it's-
first neighborhood
Oh,
we've looked
okay.
at.
Because there's some that breaks my heart. That I don't live there, and I didn't know about that at the time I came here. But I probably would have moved there only because of the architecture. That's where they have all the old Victorian mansions, and it makes me cry when I go down there. They're just rotting and falling into the ground. And back in those days, because I do a lot of building and carpentry type projects, everything now is power tools and compressors and nail guns. Back in the day, they planed it, they cut it by hand, they chiseled it out. I mean, they didn't have any of this. It's amazing what they were capable of building. I mean, if you look at the detail, the intricate detail. I'm talking about, woodworks and moldings and finials, and
We've also been interviewing Lang's Woodworking Company.
that's a great place. That's another sad story. That family lived in the house right diagonally behind me on 34th Street. The lady's still alive, I believe. She's like 100 and something years old. She's in a nursing home somewhere. They just moved her. This makes me sick. That house was magnificent. It was one of the nicer homes in the area. They custom built that house, and it had the best of everything in it. Well, Miss Mavis had a nephew, and she insisted that they get into that house. And I made a bid on that house, but they didn't accept it because they already had a bid from her nephew, and that's fine. But I got to tell you, I was just over there the other day, not at that house, but the one across the street. The paint is peeling. The lawn is unkept. The shrubbery's all dying. He's not taking care of it. He just is not taking care of it. And I guess they've had some cops and legal problems over there with drug dealings or whatever. Nobody wants to see that in the neighborhood. And I won't even talk to Mavis because I'm so upset. Oh, my nephew's going to move there and he's going to do this. Your nephew's a bum. He's got that beautiful house. He does not maintenance it. He's just letting it fall into disrepair. And you can go there right now today and drive up in front of the house and look for yourself. It's disgusting. And several of the neighbors on that street, I know them, and they've said the same thing. They don't know what to do about it, you know? Mm-hmm. That's sad. That I don't like. That's what I see happening. Not good.
Mm-hmm. Have you, through your work, have you had to work with the Lang Brothers company?
I haven't actually worked with them, but I've had them do a lot of milling work for me, for jobs that I've done, because a lot of my work is, I do more high-end, you know, Fox Point, I've done a lot of work. I've done a lot of work in River Hills, you know, the more affluent areas. People have the money. So they've done, like, even in my own house when I renovated, they did my moldings for me. They did my mantelpieces, I had them mill for me, and they custom built my French doors because I needed specific sizes that you couldn't buy at Home Depot. So, yeah, no, it's a great company. And I would continue to go to them for things if I would need them. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So you've been in the factory that's on Mill Road?
Mm-hmm.
Douglas.
Douglas.
Oh, it's on
Douglas, yeah. Oh, yeah, many times. Yeah.
Well, I can't think of anything more.
Yeah, I think that's...
I don't know if I told you anything that's going to help you or not. You know?
Is there anything else that you'd like to say? Anything else you'd
I
like
think
to
I
talk
pretty
about?
much covered it, no? No, not really, no.
Is there
I like the neighborhood. Don't misunderstand me. I do. I wouldn't be here if I didn't. I just don't like a lot of what I've seen happening, and I honestly can't tell you what's the reason for that. It's, I don't know, lack of pride, lack of money, rental income properties. I know for a fact that those are the ones we really have the majority of problem with. The ones that are not owner-occupied. Those are the trouble spots.
My impression from talking to you is that people have just kind of closed their doors more and more.
Yeah, we were coming together, so I thought, and we've all kind of like everybody's gone their own way. I mean, that's sad. Aren't we here to help each other? That's what it's all about, you know?
What was it that brought people together in the past?
I think everybody was just all, it was a different era. It was a different time. It was, you know, I don't know how old you are, but I'm almost 60 years old, okay? I'm actually going to be 59 in October. So I'm in a different generation than you. I've got a daughter that's like 33 right now. So it's a different mindset. It's a different type of generation.
And I'm interested in that. I don't walk around.
I'm not saying that your generation doesn't care, but it's just, they're different criteria.
I'm a renter. My landlord takes care of my yard for me, and we have a backyard. I wouldn't say it's immaculate.
Yeah.
But it's nice to host parties there, and I wish I had more time to walk around my neighborhood. I think walking around.
Do you live in the Thurston Woods?
I live in River West.
Okay. They've done a lot of refurbishing and nice things over in River West. Yeah. I've actually done some work over there like 5 or 6 years ago.
And I think that having time and walking around the neighborhood is probably something that would bring people together.
I think they need something like that here, but I don't know where it would go. Where would you put it? And what people would you be getting? See, that's the problem. We get this bus line up here, and it's both on Teutonia and it's out here on 35th and Silver Spring. And that's a major bus transition area, whatever. So you're getting people that are coming in and out of here from God knows where. You know, like I said, with the alleyways being blocked off, there used to be a lot of problems. I mean, a lot of problems. And since that was, we actually talked about doing this like maybe 10 or 12 years ago, all the neighbors at the time getting together, and you know that primarily Thurston's Woods technically was from Thurston to 35th and from the front of Silver Spring to Florist. Now all of a sudden, coming this way, west, they've got this Thurston Woods Public Gardens, and I'm like, what the hell is that? If you look at the property deeds of those houses, it doesn't say Thurston Woods. You look at my property deed, it says Thurston Woods. I say that because I know a couple of people that live in this area, and we've looked at their deeds, and it didn't say that. This is something somebody just decided they were going to incorporate it. It's officially, unofficially part of it. Good for them. If they want to be included, I think that's great. If it's going to help make it better. But I'm just talking about the immediate part of where Thurston's Woods proper is. It was a very small little spot.
Mm-hmm.
But where would you put something like that? And what kind of people would you be attracting into it? You know?
Where were the alleyways that were blocked off? What are the
35th, 32nd, and 34th.
And how did they block them off?
Fencing.
Fencing?
Yeah. Yeah, like chain link fencing.
So there are many different boundary lines.
Yeah, this is
What-
all different
yeah.
from. I gotta put on my eyes
This,
so I can
we're
see.
we're looking at a little map that says Silver Spring to Douglas.
Yeah, see, this
and-
is all different now.
So the
God love 'em.
area that you
Originally, it was this. This is what it was right here.
just
This,
those-
all of this west has come after the fact.
Mhm. And so you considered this Thurston Woods?
It was, yeah,
18
and now it's all different. Now they've that's what I said. They've incorporated all of this.
Hmm.
Because when I first moved here, I was into this refurbishing and everything, and I went down to City Hall and I did a lot of research, and that was even a little bit before the computer was as popular as even 20 years ago. It wasn't as popular as it is right now. I had this big old honking thing on my desk, but I went down there, and that wasn't at the time considered to be part of it. Now I don't know how or when that all happened, but. Actually, even before Thurston Woods, that's what I found in my research. This area used to be Granville. So, I mean, I don't know how and when that all changed. So, but it does change. But yeah, that's what they say. So, I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. If they want to call it Thurston's Woods, I don't care. Point of the story I started to bring up was the neighbors that were in the immediate area that I'm talking about. We had talked, quite a few of us, of getting together and putting up gates off of Thurston and off of 35th through Oriole and down into Thurston Avenue there, and kind of making it like a gated community, if you will, because we felt at that time that it was going to maybe be a deterrent against foot traffic that didn't belong in there, and people using it as a shortcut.
What kind of gates? Just archways?
Yeah, just something, and I didn't mean gate the whole thing. Maybe put like some kind of pillars or something up out of brick or something, and have some decorative iron gates that you could. I don't mean a great big wall that you need a battering ram. Something nice could have been done. But then the opposition was, well, it's a public street, it's a public city, it's a public access. How can you do this? And then you'd have to charge. Each homeowner would have to be charged dues, and if you want to be gated, and
Yeah.
okay. May I have this?
Sure. Yeah, there are a few downstairs.
Yeah, if I showed you my original artwork for the
Oh,
flag, that would kill you, because even the style of the bench is what I did. It's exactly what I did. I mean, and I don't care. I never got anything out of it anyway. I just did it because they wanted somebody to. I had a couple of trees and a fir tree in here, like a blue spruce or something, and so they took it out and they changed the color. They put Thurston Woods. I had it with the TW, so I don't care.
No, it's quite apparent that you care a lot about where you
Well, I do. I mean, I wouldn't. Yeah, Mavis's house. All right. Have you been over there and looked at that house?
Yeah.
I did all that painting.
Oh, wow.
I did
It's
that 5 or
lovely.
6 years ago. That's how good of a job I did. It's still holding up.
Yeah.
It took me 3 months to do that house. I had a helper there with me. We had to scrape it. All those windows were reputtied. And then I'm the guy that came up with the two-toning with all the different woodworks and trims. I said, why don't you accent this? That's mine. I did that. Yeah. She
she's
probably
very
didn't tell you
proud of
that,
her.
but yeah. And I did it cheap, too. But that's okay.
No, you did a wonderful job.
Yeah, no, I mean, no, I take a lot of pride in my work and stuff, so.
No, go ahead and take it.
Oh, okay, thanks. It is what it is. Any other?
Not that I can think of.
No? Okay. I won't be offended if you find there's nothing in here you can use. I mean,
Oh, well, it's very helpful just
but I would
even to get a
prefer to
background.
kind of stay anonymous if that's
Sure.
not going to be an issue.
And
You know,
I'll
do I have
just
to
have
sign a
you
release
write.
or something?
Yes, I'll just have you write down that you prefer to be anonymous.
Okay.
Um,
It doesn't mean I'm afraid or ashamed of what I said or that it's not truthful. I just don't want to have grief. And I've had some problems here with the Black Captain thing where there was a lot of, and that when I won the beautification
Yeah.
award, you know, it was just people are petty.
So what we do come out with, we'd send you for approval. Or
You know, my address too, I do that for business, is
Oh.
different than my street.
Oh, okay.
But I do get mail at the street, but I prefer to use the box. Is that okay?
Sure.
Because I have a business, so.
If we use your voice, is that
Yeah, I don't care.
okay?
I sign up in here, right? Or write my
Yes,
name?
here.
You want me to print
This
it?
is where I'll put my name and the date.
Okay.
So go ahead, print your name there.
I go by Ash. Is that all right?
Sure.
Yeah.
The only one calls me Ashley is my mother. And today is June.
26th.
Well, I appreciate talking to you guys, even though I did all the talking. So.
That's how an interview goes.
That's the goal.
Anyway, as I said, I don't know if I helped you or not, but
I think you did, and I think not that we only want to have positive stories, because any
well, I'm
neighborhood
trying to
has-
be. You know, I thought about that while I was talking. I thought, God, I'm
There's
telling these
always-
guys all this rotten
Well,
crap,
we
and it's like,
We
you
want
know,
the
hey, these guys
truth.
says he lives here and he's bought a
Yeah.
house and I put all this money into it. And now he's running the neighborhood. It's not like that. It's just I'm
Well,
trying to be
They're always,
honest and objective, you
Yeah,
know. But
that's
there's
what we want.
there's good and bad. I'm not going to sit here and tell you how wonderful it is because it isn't. But it's not the pits either. Otherwise, I wouldn't be sitting here talking. I'd be out of here.
We'll
So,
be pretty judicious
yeah,
with what we
okay.
use, but
Appreciate
we
that.
understand there are many sides to a story. And it's very helpful for us to talk to you about that. And so, as I was saying, I'm interested in architecture, but I'm more interested in the everyday places, the places that everybody uses.
Mhm.
We all live, most of us live in.
Are you
rather-
talking about like what they're building up here on 60th and Silver Spring?
No, I'm just talking about most of us live in fairly normal houses,
Mhm.
not the.
Oh, not historical significance?
Well, everywhere has a bit of historical significance. The house
Right.
I live in was built in 1917, but you
Okay.
wouldn't really know from looking at it.
Okay.
So, just.
Where do you want me to put my actual mailing address here? I put down
Oh, sure. You could put
just
here.
mail?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think there's value in looking at, everyday housing, I mean, everybody likes looking at, the mansions and the historic buildings, but there is value in looking at like a working
Yeah,
class
having
person's
worked in a lot of
house.
those so-called wonderful mansions, I can tell you that all is not as nice as it might look from the outside. They're all, not the ones that have been refurbished, but there's a lot of them still. They look magnificent, but you go in, ceilings are cracking, walls are cracking, plumbing doesn't work, one or two outlets in a room. Everything is old. You know,
Yeah.
I've worked in a lot of those homes, and the taxes are killing people. I know several people that live right on Lake Drive, on the lake side of Lake Drive, and the first thing, and I know these people well, and they go, oh my God, our taxes are like $18,000 a year or $24,000 a year for property tax. And they're living in this 3-floor mega house that in the winter they live in 1 or 2 rooms because they can't afford to heat it, and that's the truth. But when you drive by, it's got a long driveway and gates and flowers and a
it's the
big
image.
green lawn, and it's like, wow, what must it be like to live there? Bullshit.
That's okay.
You live in that
Yeah,
city.
I'm happy in my little Cape Cod house. I love it.
And we learn more about everyday
Yeah.
Americans from those
Yeah.
more modest places.
Learn more about what most people's lives are like rather than exceptional people.
I just would prefer to be silent, so that's how I would
Silent,
word it. Yeah,
or-
silent. Like I don't want to talk about it.
Oh.
Anonymous. That's what I meant to say, but that's what I put
Okay.
down. So do I keep this, or you're going to send me this? Do you need
Um,
all of this?
I'll give you a copy.
Okay.
And is there another form? This form as
What
well.
is that for?
This is the old.
Do we have new ones like those?
I'll go get a new one. The wording has changed a little
Oh,
bit.
okay. But what is it for, though? I mean,
It's just consent to participate. So it's
Oh,
just
okay.
saying you'll be a part. I'm gonna go grab a new
all
one.
right, that's fine. Yeah.
And then,
Well, then here, you
and
can
those
take all
are-
this.
Okay.
I don't, and you can have
And what
this
we're
too,
gonna
then.
do is make a copy and give that to you.
Okay.
At this mailing address.
Yeah, that's I wrote. Yeah, that's right. Did I put the zip down? No, I didn't. I got this down. Real quick.
And I'm just gonna ask for clarification. When you say would prefer to be silent, you mean you don't want us to use your voice or the sound recording?
No, you can use that, but I don't want my picture or any of that in there.
Sure.
That's what I meant.
Could you write anonymous, or
Okay.
was there a difference between the
Well, that's what I meant by it, but
Okay.
that's okay. Yeah.
just in case somebody looks at it and they say,
You'll know what that is, right?